Joining me today on our podcast is David Tal, IDF tank commander, 35 years in the IDF, a believer in Yeshua, Jesus Christ as the Savior, Messianic Jew. We're going to get into many things today, including why he doesn't agree with the ceasefires, whether or not they are coming from outside forces. Does Netanyahu actually run the U.S. government, or the world for that matter? And also ask him about this. Is Trump playing 5D chess? All right, David, let's just roll with it. So you recently did a video, a podcast on the Balagan connection, called it, I Don't Agree with the Ceasefire, and Here's Why. And, you know, as time goes on, it's just another ceasefire and another ceasefire. This has been going on for a long time. And let's roll through this. Give us some insight from your perspective, being a commander, a tank commander in the IDF, and where you are now, a commentator on these things. Let's roll with it.
Well, what sparked that one is my brother Joel sent me pictures that his son Amiel, my nephew, sent him from southern Lebanon. And Amiel is a paratrooper right now in southern Lebanon in the fight against the Hezbollah, the war against the Hezbollah. And I'm looking at the pictures and I say, I know that. I've been there. I've done that. Literally, I mean, when I was his age, I was literally in the same valleys, in the same place in southern Lebanon. I mean, I've been there, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute. We've done this. We've gone into southern Lebanon in order to clear out the enemies of Israel that are fighting against us. We went in, we cleared them out, and then another enemy. It's like, you know, when you're in the sand on the beach and you pull out the sand and the sand just comes back into the same hole that you're digging. I mean, it feels like that in southern Lebanon. And when the Hezbollah started firing at us in the last, call it a war with Iran, I said, wonderful. Now we have this excuse to go smack them all over the place, finish them off once and for all. And we start doing that. We go into southern Lebanon, we clear out the Shiite villages, and all of a sudden, stop. A ceasefire.
Mm-hmm.
The United States wants Israel to reach a ceasefire with Lebanon. Just in a nutshell, there are three main players in this kind of dynamic. There's Israel on one side. There's Lebanon on the other side. But the Hezbollah is not Lebanon. The Hezbollah is a proxy, a terrorist organization that is run by Iran. So no matter what ceasefire we agree with Lebanon, and we have agreed in 1982 we had one, in 2006 we had one, in 2024 we had a ceasefire with Lebanon, it didn't stop the Hezbollah. So I said, let's go finish the Hezbollah off once and for all. And then Trump tells Bibi, I'm going into negotiations with Iran. Iran doesn't want you to shoot at Lebanon anymore or at the Hezbollah anymore. And Bibi agreed to that. I think that was a mistake. We should have gone all in completely. We have a saying in Hebrew, Balabait ishtagea, meaning the landlord has gone crazy. We have to do that with Lebanon. And I think until we do that, we're going to have to suffer this series and cycles with Lebanon again and again.
So why do you think Trump, he keeps doing this? And this is a pattern that's come from the West for decades. And you're thinking, okay, the jobs just doesn't seem to be getting done. And, I have colleagues and friends that say Trump's playing 5D chess, but I have my own thoughts on that. I'm not so sure that's what we see going on. What I see is, it seems like there's a pattern that is evident that comes from the West, and Trump seems to be following that pattern.
The West has this, we don't like the confrontation. We are, by definition, a society that inches away or shies away from direct confrontation. And we've been brought up since we were kids that that's not the Christian way to do it, and it's not what we need to do. So on the whole, the West always has tried to get out of the confrontation. I mean, look at what happened in World War I. Look at what happened in World War II. the West, you had to sink American ships for them to get in. The United States of America didn't get into World War II until the Japanese did Pearl Harbor. I mean, we try to stay away from it because we don't like this confrontation. It reminds me of, I don't know. We both have raised kids, and I still remember on a beach in Israel one day, a mom's telling her son, "If you kick sand on me again, you're going to get it." And he kicked sand on her. "And if you kick sand on me another one, I'm going to really get you." And he kicked sand on her. "And if you kick sand on me one more time, it's going to be really, really terrible." And he kicked sand on her. And you see that she doesn't want to be the bad guy. She doesn't want to get into the confrontation. I think Trump is pulling that out as much as possible. It's much better for him if the Iranians agree to what he wants them to agree without him having to kill people. I don't think it's going to work. And we're I don't know where this is going to be aired, but we're going to see if it's going to work. I think by the time this is online, we will know if it works or doesn't work. But you can see him trying again and again to appease.
Mm-hmm. So when we look at the Iranian people, the Persian people, you separate them from the regime, because the Persian people, I mean, I've talked with many. I have a friend of mine lives not far from you. He's Persian Jew. He writes for JNS and other publications. And clearly there's this relationship between Jews and Persians on the street that's completely different from what we get in the Western media, whether it be social media or mainstream media. It's portrayed entirely different, but Persians actually appreciate Jews. Have you experienced that?
Well, it's interesting that you connected that. I actually had breakfast in Seal Beach at a place that is owned by a Persian Jew. And we literally had this conversation this morning, me and Rob Schwartz, Rob.
Yeah.
And she says, though, something else. She says, the Iranians don't like the government. They don't like what's going on, but their pride, both their religious pride and their national pride, is more important or more, weight. It carries more weight than their dislike of the regime. She doesn't believe that they're going to rise up against the government. She doesn't believe that most of the people, and especially if, let's say, President Trump tells them, rise up and overthrow the government, that'll be enough for them not to do it. It has to come organically from inside them. And if it doesn't, then that's going to continue. But I think that's what Trump is playing right now, is putting economic pressure on the Iranian people will make it worthwhile for them, not for American reasons, for Iranian reasons, to rise up and change the regime in a very serious way. All we need is one colonel from the Iranian army or one general from the Republican Guard to say, okay, I'm going to lead the rebellion. Now, remember, that's how regimes change in the Middle East. Look at Gaddafi. Look at Saddam Hussein. Look at Assisi in Egypt. All of these were military generals who overthrew the former government. And we're waiting for something like that to happen, but it has to happen from inside the Iranian people. And I think we've all realized, as much as we hoped and thought, that we cannot make them overthrow the government. We cannot create regime change. And that, in a nutshell, is also what's happening in Lebanon. We're waiting for Lebanon to kick out the Hezbollah. But they're not going to do that. They don't have the power, and there's enough people in Lebanon who like what the Hezbollah are doing. So we're stuck in this in-between situation that I'm really, really curious to see how President Trump managed to do this. Israel is being held back from Iran right now. Israel is being held back from Hezbollah right now. And Israel is also being held back from Hamas in Gaza, where the story isn't completely over. We're at this bottleneck and Trump keeps on saying, okay, let's do it again. Kick more sand and we're going to get you. And kick more sand, we're going to get you. And he hasn't switched the button, but it seems like it'll change.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to change, because as I look at it it just seems like the same thing repeated over and over again. And Hezbollah is obviously a huge problem. If I project into the future and I think, okay, in Ezekiel chapter 38, Israel must be dwelling in peace. They're not there. They're nowhere near there. But yet Hezbollah can't be a problem at that time. Neither can Hamas. And they certainly aren't expecting an attack from Iran at that time. Israel's caught by surprise when the attack happens. So when I look at these things, I was watching, it was just recent, and it had to do with the IMEC, the India, Mideast, Europe trade agreement, right? So with that, it's very fascinating. But one of the things that was brought up is that there's now talk within Gaza of some type of police force that is headed by this Trump peace plan. And I don't know if all that entails either police force or military force to make sure that you can have the Riviera, the Gaza Riviera. And we know that's part of the plan. I mean, that's been broadcasted everywhere by the Trump administration. And I don't want you to get in trouble with your followers or anything. But as I look at this, I think, what would ever guarantee Israel that they are going to have peace, that they'd be able to say, now we're at peace with our neighbors, when there's some serious problems inside Judea and also Samaria. There's you still have terrorists inside there too. How could you foresee peace being conveyed to Israel, that they'd be able to say, hey, we're all good, we're getting along with everybody?
The only thing that I look forward and see would make that possible is the complete surrender of the Iranian regime. Let's go back a little. Israel starts coming back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. We start putting our homeland back in place. And the Arab world sees the Israeli presence in the Middle East, in the Waqf, in the Arab world, in this territory, sees this as an abomination and as I'm going to say, a disrespect to their regional pride. So the wars against Israel, ever since we started coming back in a serious manner, and think about this: in 1948, War of Independence, 5 Arab nations fought against Israel. Okay. After that, the end of this, Israel has independence. Israel has a country, but the Arab world hasn't really gotten its head around. But let's not forget, Iraq fought against Israel in 1948. Iraq has not fought against Israel since. Okay, so let's go down. 1967, 3 Arab nations fought against Israel. It was Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. And after that, okay, you come to 1973, only 2 Arab nations. It's only Egypt and Syria. And the Jordanians have more or less kind of reached some kind of an agreement with that. After 1973, okay, Egypt has made a peace agreement. Jordan has made a peace agreement. The rest of the Arab world, but the Palestinians are still holding the flag of the Arab world. Word for it is mukawama, the resistance. They're going to resist till the final. Okay. After 1 Intifada and 2 Intifada, the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, is thrown in the flag of resistance, has reached the Oslo Accords, 2-state solution, yes, no. The only ones left fighting for the Mukawama, okay, basically is the crazies in Gaza and the crazies in Iran through their proxies. And now we're seeing Israel stomping on Iran, stomping on the Hezbollah. So if Iran throws in the towels and calls uncle, then there's nobody left in the resistance. If there's nobody left in the resistance, the Arab world will latch on to the benefits of a relationship with the United States and a relationship with Israel and the connection between, and we keep on saying it, Greece, Israel, India, UAE. By the way, I don't know if you heard, Israel is actually defending the UAE with Iron Dome
I did.
right
Yeah.
now. Defending. Literally, there's Israeli missile defense systems in the UAE. So all of a sudden, if Iran cries uncle, completely, totally, nuclear weapons gone. They're not a threat to the Gulf states. They're not a threat to to Israel. The Middle East will blossom in a way that it never has before. Think about Saudi money and Israeli technology mixed together. Think about the geography of being between the Far East and Europe. Think about being the how do you say, the buffer zone for the United States in the war against China. We will blossom here. That, I'm going to say, prosperity that theoretically I can see on the ground, again, if Iran completely cries uncle, would allow us to say our relationship, the money, the prosperity, the good life is better than our need to keep iron domes up in place. And that is, I think, the only scenario that we can see. And here's a weird thing: when you think about it, we're this close. I mean, Iran might throw in the towel tomorrow. I mean, and think what happens when that does. That's the only scenario.
I think the couple of things that are very fascinating as we think about what you just were just talking about. When I look at the Bible and I interpret to what is coming in the future, the Mideast becomes the hub of the world
Yep.
for money. And when you start tying in all of these different things together, from the Abraham Accord to the Gaza peace plan to IMEC to what is happening right now with the UAE and OPEC, and you see these different dynamics. Trading, it's going to be digital currency. We can see everything developing. It's definitely going this way. And I don't think when the president of India visited Netanyahu a couple of months back, I think it had more to do with this, well, you're talking about the money aspect, than it had to do with anything else, because it is the future. So, okay, but at the same time, I can't imagine these leaders in Iran surrendering. Unless it, of course, what's it called, hudna, or what is it when you can lie in order to make a peace deal? What's that called?
Well, a hudna is how do you say, semi-peace in order to reorganize. But
Turkey.
taqiya means to lie in the name of Islam. Yeah, but we are talking about that. But Iran would have to throw in. Iran would have to, in Trump's word, would have to cry uncle. Whether they completely buy into it, it might be another taikia. It might be another, how do you say, a feint, where we think we're going this way, but we're going that way. But it would also have to be for Israel to put down its guard now, especially after the 7th of October, especially after everything we went through. There has to be a major shift in everything that's going on. By the way, one of the things that we haven't mentioned in this connection is that AI is going to become as important as oil is in the near future. And Saudi Arabia realizing this, and the Gulf states realizing this, are trying to get on the AI bandwagon. Now, you know who leads in technology, AI technology today. Israel's at the forefront of AI technology. Tie that into Saudi Arabia money, and this is basically what they're trying to do, and Saudi energy, because the whole AI world is going to need huge amounts of energy and huge amounts of electrical power to power that. Think about oil, money, and knowledge mixing together in the Middle East. If Iran calls out uncle, the Middle East is going to become an AI superpower just as much as it was an oil superpower. And the two things are going to kind of connect together.
So from what I understand, Saudi Arabia, in making a deal like that with Israel, will be able to say, hey, we can supply all of the energy needs that you have for AI. We can make a great partnership with it. Is that correct?
That would be correct. We would supply the energy. You supply the technology. You supply the desalination. By the way, that's a major issue on this one, but Israel leads in this. So what we're seeing is Israel is I'm going to say accumulating all of the knowledge, all of the the know-how, all of the capabilities that are just now sitting. It's interesting to see, and again, this is something that I'm feeling again. It's like we're on the cusp of something. It's like the visual I'm getting is everybody's lined up on the starting line of 100 meter, 100-yard dash, and somebody's just waiting for the gun to go off so it can start moving because there's a huge amount of kind of energy kind of pent up in the Middle East right now. And all we need is to finish off this Iranian problem, and it solves the Hamas in Gaza, it solves the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Lebanon would make a peace agreement with us tomorrow. Okay, the Syrians would make an arrangement tomorrow. I mean, all of a sudden, if we get that, the only balagana I see in here is Turkey, but that's another story. That's another connection.
Well, Turkey is a very interesting issue. Maybe we'll have enough time to get there, but as we look at this, I hear all the time through certain people on social media, even mainstream media, how Israel's calling all the shots. Trump just does what Israel wants. But yet, when I look at the facts from my perspective, these ceasefires are forced upon Israel. In fact, what you said earlier regarding Hamas in Gaza, Israel can't finish the job. Not only is there the pressure from social media blaming Israel for being baby killers, which is an absurd lie. Nevertheless, it's one of the things that you guys got to deal with. It's this propaganda war that's out there. But how do you answer those people who say is Netanyahu is running the world? He's directing all of the shots.
Netanyahu would love to go into southern Lebanon, clear out all the Shiite minorities from southern Lebanon because they are the main problem right now in southern Lebanon. Pour money into the Christian communities. And let's make this clear. There's Christian communities in southern Lebanon. Sidon is a half Christian, half Muslim. Move the Muslims out, leave the Christians. There's probably about 4 or 5 Christian centers in southern Lebanon. We would pour money, we'd pour support, create a buffer zone in southern Lebanon, okay? Allow Ashara from Syria to move into the Bekaa Valley from the north part of Syria because he has, a bone to pick with the Hezbollah also. Let him finish off the Hezbollah. We would love to do that, and the Lebanese government would love us, the Lebanese people would love us to do that because that would solve their Hezbollah problem. I don't know if you remember that big explosion in Beirut 2.5 years ago.
The fertilizer?
That was a Hezbollah issue. Yeah. They were accumulating explosives in the middle of the major city. 250 people died because of them. I mean, again, they would love to do this. It's all actually right now hinged on or held by I got this feeling of a rope that you remember when they put this cover over the statue and then somebody comes and pulls a little string, the cover falls off and we see the full beauty of the statue. That's where we are right now. That's where we are right now because the Middle East is going to look amazing when this is over. It's going to look amazing because the Arabs have given up. Most of the Arab people have given up the mukawama in that way. That leaves us to the prophetic aspect, and that is something that is much, much bigger because I've been going deep into why people hate Israel so much. After all of these years and everything that we've gone through, how is anti-Semitism rising up? That is a spiritual, biblical issue that even though politically, if Iran surrenders and we change the Middle East, everything is going to be politically amazing, economically amazing, but that hatred for Israel is still going to be there. It doesn't disappear. And that's going to be the Ezekiel 38. Everything is prosperous. The Middle East is amazing. Everything is wonderful. Israel puts down its guard. But again, that hatred, and this is something that I think Israelis even don't really understand. I'm sure that Bible reading evangelical Christians don't understand that everything that we're seeing is basically spiritual warfare against Israel. And that's something that's going to rise up again.
That indeed it is. And biblically, if we understand the prophecies, if people are willing to read the prophecies and take them for what they actually say, then you can make that connection and go, aha, I would expect the persecution to come against Israel. When I say Israel, obviously I mean not just the land, but the Jewish people. I would expect it to because of the way things are going to come to their finish in the coming years. But at the same time, it's horrible to see. Now, there are some Israeli friends of mine that I've talked with that believe that there's going to continue to be an exodus of Jews, not just from what we see in Europe, but also in the U.S. And I had a friend, Frank Eichler, he was a mentor of mine many years ago, and he started an organization called Shalom International. And I asked him one time, I said, what is it going to cost? What is it going to take for Jews to leave Miami and New York and Los Angeles because they have it so good here? And he said, persecution is going to come to America and of the Jews. I have another friend that's in Israel. He's absolutely convinced it's going to happen. He was quoting the number of neo-Nazis. He was quoting the number of neo-Nazis here in the States to me 2 and 3 years ago, and I didn't believe him. But now what I see happening on social media, I'm thinking he was probably right on target because it is happening everywhere, this hatred towards Jews. And I've met other people. I have friends by where you live, they're Jewish. I have Orthodox friends that were there. They since have relocated to Jerusalem because they don't feel safe here anymore. That's not far from where you live. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The 7th of October, 2023, two very interesting things happened and again, since I said I live on both worlds, it's easy for me to kind of connect to it. Israelis were reminded that they were Jews. We thought that we're different from the Jews over there. We thought that we were different from that. We have a country. And one of the things that Hamas kept on saying when it explained what it did in the 7th of October, that terrible massacre, is we killed Jews. Not we killed Israelis, we killed Jews. Israelis all of a sudden remembered that they were Jews. Since then, something else very interesting has been happening. Jews are reminded that they're Israeli. Jews are being reminded all over the world that they're part of Israel, whether they want it or not. They're being blamed for what Israel does. They're being held accountable for what Israel does. They're being persecuted because of what Israel does. And they're going to say, we're not Israeli. We're not connected. We're barely even Jews. And what's happened is that has come together. And again, we're not surprised. And I can't help, I'm preparing a video about anti-Semitism here in America. And again, this is a verse that most of us kind of recognize very clearly. And I'm going to read from Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9. And you know the passage that says, that which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. And he goes on. And again, we know this. We realize this. We see this. And sometimes it takes us, a smack to be reminded that we're basically all together in this, whether we want it or whether we like it or not. I was at a ICEJ Independence Day conference in Irvine yesterday, and all of the Jews, walking around, but you can tell that they're looking over their shoulder. Wow. You just walk in, and the security is like an event for the President of the United States, and it just, this is a growing problem, and one of the things that I'm feeling it more and more is it's growing in the church even, and that's a whole different dynamic. But nothing is new under the sun. We're used to this.
The church problem concerns me the most. I believe if pastors are actually reading the Bible and believing what it says, then we wouldn't have this anti-Semitic rise that we are witnessing right now. But these things are even promoted within the church, and that is, to me, it's very disturbing. It reminds me of the time of Hitler, when 80% of the churches went along with Hitler. This just, whether it was because they didn't want to get pressure from the state, or they just believed and they just hated the Jews. Whatever the reason was, 80% just went along with them.
It was fascinating to see what Satan did when the left in the American politics went anti-Semitic for all of their reasons, and there's a whole dynamic in this, and wokeism went anti-Semitic, and then Trump comes to power, and the left, the woke, the progressive gets put under how do you say, on its back foot, and now the anti-Semitism is coming from the right,
Wow.
and now the anti-Semitism is coming from the church.
Yeah.
And we see more and more of that as we see. And again, me and you both agree. It's our calling to bring the Jews back into the church, but the Jews are being pushed out of the church, both for actual reasons. People are becoming actively anti-Jewish, anti-Israel, and then anti-Zionism, by the way, which is the same as anti-Semitic. There's a whole dynamic in that. But I call soft anti-Semitism where you teach the New Testament, which actually in many cases use the Jews as a negative example without counterbalancing the role of the Jews in that. And people grow up after teaching this generation after generation or year after year, thinking that the Jews are the problem and not part of God's plan. And you see that.
Yeah, well, a part of that with the teaching just the New Testament is they take certain things completely out of context to make it mean, well, this is all the Jews, therefore. And they disregard the true meaning of what the Apostle Paul says, for example, regarding faith, and they forget that they forget so much of what the Bible actually says, even in the New Testament. They just don't want to wrap their heads around it. When I think of these different dynamics that are taking place in the church, you said it earlier, it's in the heart. Anti-Semitism isn't going to go away.
No.
And as long as people are still alive, it is going to be here, even if it gets subdued because all of a sudden there's prosperity and there's peace, and they can't blame Jews on a bad economy or whatever else, bad climate, whatever they want to, when they can't. Eventually, because it's just subdued, because of the peace that's come their way, so they're not thinking about it, it will come back up. Just looking at it, it's very, we need answers. And by the way, David, you're going to be with myself in Santa Barbara. James Cadiz is going to be with us. Brandon Holthouse is joining us. That's coming up in Santa Barbara at the end of August this year, and I can't wait. It's going to be an incredible time there. I would tell anybody, listen, register if you're in the Santa Barbara area of California. Check out the events page at hopeforourtimes.com. You'll meet David in person, and you'll see James, which is always fun.
It's bigger than life.
Bigger than life, and Brandon Holthouse will be there too. It's going to be just a great time, and you can register. It's also, we have a streaming package where the streaming includes our Idaho conference, our Washington conference at Calvary Chapel, Ellensburg, and also our Texas conference. It includes all four of them in the streaming package because we just want people to get them. Different speakers. David's speaking at two of them twice, so is Brandon. And
well, you know that when you get me and James, I mean, it's like a joke. I mean, a Christian, an Arab, and a Jew meet on the stage and talk about what's going on. I mean, what else can you expect?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun because I'm going to get you both wound up, and then we throw Brandon into the mix, and there's going to be some like dynamite happen at Santa Barbara, to say the least. But it's going to be great. You know what else is interesting here, David, is when over in Israel, many people on social media say those aren't really the Jews. Well, they need to leave the land. Well, where are they going to go? Well, we don't want them here because they're Jews. Well, I just thought you said they aren't Jews. And then if they aren't Jews, in LA, they say, well, you need to go back to your people in Israel. Well, I thought you said those weren't Jews there. The logic of it makes no sense. Anyways, that's just these crazy.
Again, as a Jew, I'm not surprised. I mean, you read the stories of my family in Poland before they left. You read the stories of the Jews leaving Spain in 16 whatever. I mean, you read the stories about the Jews being pushed out for all those different reasons from all these different places. We're not surprised. Nothing is new under the sun. it's like I'm listening to people talking about Jews and talking about Israel and talking about anti-Semitism like it's a new thing for them. It is not a new issue. Goes back as far back as the New Testament. I mean, that's what we're talking about,
Oh, you can
and I
trace it
find it
back.
fascinating.
You can trace it back even further.
Yeah.
Go all the way back to Isaac and Ishmael and then Jacob and Esau and right on through ancient Jewish history. Man, you know,
So,
I find this interesting. Is Hebron, Abraham purchases, was it Machpelah? Is that how you say that?
Machpelah.
Machpelah. He purchases the land, pays money for it, and yet when Joshua comes back into the land, Anakim became usurpers in that land. Hebron is in the heart of Judea. You look at this and you go, it's like dealing with the same thing all over again. There's usurpers in the land. And it's been happening since the beginning of the people of Israel, since the time of Abraham. It's quite an interesting thing.
It's completely like when Jews started coming out, when the Zionist movement started coming back in the late 1900s, we purchased the land from Arab landlords.
I would say repurchase the land because it's already.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, but I mean, we have deeds and titles, but again, it's like we conquered it again, like Joshua had to do it, and I can't help but say, when God says land, people, and me are in a agreement here, uh, every time somebody pushes back on it, it needs to be reinstated. That agreement, God needs to prove again and again. Israel's returning to its land in the 1900s. Is God saying this agreement is still in place? But it is Satan who is saying, wait a minute, no, this is not an agreement. These people came from Europe. Oh, they're not Jewish. I mean, they're either not the promised land or it's not the Jewish people. I mean, there's this. I'm going to see. I see like somebody pushing a screwdriver into this unity that was created and trying to pry it apart. And if they can't pry it apart this way, they'll pry it apart that way. And this is basically what we're seeing. Let's make them not the people. I will say they're not the land, and your name will be forgotten forever, as Ezekiel says. Again, you can't help but watch this and see biblical prophecy and biblical, I'm going to say, wisdom playing out on the ground in Israel. What's happening now in Lebanon is just another piece of that.
You know, here's something that's really fascinating to me. In Jeremiah chapter 32, which is just one of the clearest passages in the entire Bible, where God says, I'm going to bring the people of Israel back into the land. And he's prophesying into the last days. He goes beyond the time of the Babylonian return into the last days. And then God says, I will do this. He's talking about Israel back in the land. With all my heart and all my soul, I promise you I'm going to do this. It's the only time in the Bible God says, with all my heart and all my soul, I am going to do this. I find that fascinating when people are just in complete denial of it. David, let me ask you this. What would you say, that people who are watching this, what's the best thing that we can do moving forward to help get the message out?
Oh, the way I tend to see it, we're in a battlefield. You know that, I know that. We're in a battlefield of good against evil, of biblical against non-biblical, of sound doctrine against crazy doctrine, for lack of a better word. And in this battlefield, the weapons that we can use is what we're doing right now. Communication. It's a social media battlefield. We need to fight this battle on the social media. And I've heard you say this again and again. I mean, take up the weapons of the gospel, take up the weapons of sound doctrine, take up your friends and acquaintance lists, and go out and fight this battle the way God has given you tools and weapons to fight. Go on social media. I'm going to say something weird that I kind of been picking up. It turns out that the social media kind of reads the hearts of the people and pushes what your heart longs for more than what your soul is speaking. Again, I'm not surprised that the first computer company that kind of made computers kind of spread to the world, it was called Apple. I mean, social media is a modern day Apple that was or fruit of the tree of knowledge, basically. And in this fruit of the tree of knowledge, this knowledge is what we as sinful people want. What I'm trying to say is the algorithm, the social media pushes up the sinful nature of people. We need the people who are pushing against the sinful nature to push up against that, meaning put out YouTube videos, put out Instagram shorts, put out you taking your phone and saying, I don't believe that the Jewish people are not God's chosen people, no matter what people say. Just put that out there, send it to your friends. That's the only way to fight this battle. Just get out there and say it and speak it. And it's not by chance. Words have a spiritual weight. Just speak it. And that would be a good maybe way to say it. Just speak the truth.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I like to say we've got to combat the lies with the truth, and with that, we both have our own channels, and we would like it. Please like, subscribe, and share this program with whoever your contacts are, whoever your friends are. We've got to get the word out, and some people are just afraid they might be mocked or something like that. Who cares? This life's going to end, and then we're going to stand before the Lord, and there's going to be many people who are believers are going to say, I wish I had listened. I wish I had done more. I wish I had courage, or whatever it is. David, I had about 100 other questions for you, but I'm just going to go with this. Excuse me. How can people connect with you, and what does Balagan mean?
Okay. That's right. Balagan actually is a Persian word for balcony. You know, the balcony in the building. It was where the people would do the sideshows in the market. So they would say, oh, it's the balcony show. In Russian, Balagan means circus. Literally, the circus. In Yiddish, you know, the moms would say, what is this, a circus? You know, what is this, a balagan? And in Hebrew, it became a word for everything that doesn't go according to plan, including what's happening in the Middle East, including this whole war with Iran. That's a balagan. That is the definition of a balagan. Nobody really knows, is it going according to plan, not going according to plan? Where's the nuclear material? By the way, drones, that's a whole different dynamic. That's a balagan. We're dealing with them right now. So slowly, we're picking up. So balagan means mix up, mess up. But you and I both know that the world, by definition, is a balagan. It's our job to make the connections between the different parts of the balagan, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Well, you do an outstanding job, and I can't wait to be with you and James and Brandon in Santa Barbara. It's going to be fantastic. Check out the website, hopeforourtimes.com events page, and we'd love to see you there. And again, we do have the streaming package that's available, and it includes all 4 of our conferences this year, not just one. It includes them all. David, any final words you have for everybody as we wrap up?
Well, we're all waiting to see what's going to happen with Iran, and let's pray for our commander in chief, no matter what stage we're at right now, that God uses him in the correct manner, or he lets God use him in the correct manner. I think that's the most important thing right now.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Make sure you check out David at the Balagan Connection. If you don't already, check him out. Make sure you do go there, like, subscribe, and share. God bless you, everybody. See you next time.